Hi, welcome to part 2 of the preparatory practice for the Yoga Workout 1 Deepening Asana Experience with Pranakriya Yoga's teacher training program. And this is part of the advanced postures. So it builds on the basic yoga teacher training. And there are 11 postures, as I mentioned in the first video. The ones I focused on in the first 30 minutes were mostly standing with balance and forward folding. So a couple of themes that just kept coming up, and especially for the headstand and crow and lateral incline plane up dog, wanted to offer this 30 minutes around the other primary postures that were suggested in the program to practice in order to not only be prepared, but to deepen your experience with working with these postures. So there was a lot of Lotus Posture, which is external rotation, not easily done for so many people, especially because we sit, so often now. We're not quite as active, so our hips don't have quite as much mobility as some other maybe times or cultures. And then Scapular Stabilization is also a big emphasis with lateral incline plane and up dog, as well as headstand. Now we may not even get into headstand, but the journey toward Lotus, these difficult postures and headstand, there's so much to gain, so much strength and so much mobility. So this is my suggestion. Not a lot of meditation in this particular sequence, as I mentioned in the last video. Less about pranayama and meditation, more about just finding some postures, a suggested posture flow to prepare you to get more out of it and maybe not be so sore. So for this hip and core shoulder focus, I'm going to suggest we start in wide-angled child's pose, walking your fingers way out in front and lengthen your body as you pull your hips back toward your heels, reaching your fingers way out in front, and then let your elbows relax. Take a couple of deep breaths here, especially into your back. So feel, your lungs expanding so much so that it's a three-dimensional quality. Deep into your belly, broad into your ribs, and full into your back. Dirga breath is good off the mat, especially though on the mat. Let your throat be relaxed, fill your lungs completely. Then as you inhale, pull forward into table, into all fours, your knees under your hips, your hands under your shoulders, and start to sway your hips a little side to side. You can go slow or a little quicker, but feel the shift of body weight side to side. Let the side to side grow into a big circle. So we'll limber, especially, this is such a healthy movement, primarily hips and low back here, but also shoulders and wrists, right? So you're getting a lot of major joints viscosity here. Deep breath, reverse in the other direction. And then make your way to stillness, hands again under shoulders, knees under hips for cow or uncat is sometimes what it's called, and then cat. So spinal flexion and extension. And always coupled with a deep, full breath. Feel straight, strong arms with your entire hand connected to the ground. Stand out of your knees. And every time you pass through the center position as you go into flexion and extension, it's an opportunity to feel length, right? So you're lubricating your spine, opening up the front of your spine here when you're in uncat or cow, opening up the back of your spine here when you're in flexion or cat, and you take that opening to right here into neutral. Now bring your knees together. No better way to warm up your hips than Hydrants. It's definitely a fan favorite. Curl your heel, right heel, tight to your bottom, and think with your knee as if there were a laser pointer on your knee, and scribe a very large circle with your knee. So this is hip circumduction, definitely warming up all the viscosity, increasing viscosity in the joint. It's a major joint. And waking up all those deep muscles, reverse in the other direction. Use a very strong breath and avoid leaning to the left. That's kind of cheating. Keep your left thigh upright, arms straight and strong, your neck relaxed and your breath full. The next time your right knee is to the side, hold it there. And then open up the knee to about a 90-degree position. Let the heel drop a little bit more and let the knee open a little higher. So you switch on the outside of your hip, and that is external rotation with abduction and flexion. It's a lot of love going on. Now take your right leg out to the side, plant it in line with your left knee. I'll turn this way so you can see this one. And you're still long in your spine, right? Get a good plant with your right foot. Press into your right hand, open your left arm up, and then as you exhale, weave it through the hole. Let's do this a few times. Inhale to open and exhale to weave it through. Now stand out of everything that is in the ground. So your right foot, your right hand, your left knee, breathe deeply as you're feeling some rotation here, warming up through the supporting arm, working pretty firm, pretty strong, and getting more opening through your inner thigh, your long ADD muscles on the right. Last one here, and weave it through. Now, come on back to center, bring your knee in, tuck your toes under, press your hips back toward your heels, and just to wake your feet up, the base, the beginning of your kinetic chain is right down there at your feet. Press hips to heels, slowly unfold into a bent knee down dog. Take a couple of deep breaths, press your hands straight down, and hug your elbows a little bit toward each other, just slightly. So you're kind of trying to roll your biceps up toward the sky. Stretching your tips of your ears toward your thumbs. Then begin to straighten out your legs if that works for you. But keep all that engagement in your upper body, lots of length in your spine, especially your neck and your waistline. Take one more deep breath. And then lower your knees. Now let's do the hydrants on the other side. So keep your hands under your shoulders, neck nice and long, and knees together. Lift curl your left heel tight to your bottom and circle your left knee around. It's always a good idea in hydrants to feel like the air has resistance. So you're circling in a way that, you're pressing the air around. This gives you the visual of feeling more connection to what you're doing, a little more resistance, and then reverse in the other direction. Try to keep your shoulders kind of quiet, your breath steady and smooth. If your breath gets too shallow or too erratic, that might be a good indication that you've gone too far and pressing too hard. With the perfect blend of effort and ease, of yielding and action, your breath will let you know that you've found that sweet spot. Now lift your left knee high to the side and hold. Maybe open your leg up to your knee to about a 90-degree bend. Flex your foot. Let the heel drop a little bit and the knee lift. And usually that makes your eyebrows do funny things. Stand really strong out of both arms and your right knee. And then extend your left leg out to the side. Place your foot on the floor in line with your right knee. And then press into your left hand, open the right arm up, and weave it through the hole. Now do this a few times, no rush, of course. And feel the pressing down in order to reach up. So the inhale always facilitates sort of this idea of expansion and lengthening and kind of, reaching. And the exhale, a little more engagement, letting go, and rooting down. Let's take two more. Stand out of the right knee. Get a good plant through your left foot. Last one. Deep breath. Nice. And then come back to center. Bring your knees in. Bring your hands in. And cross your ankles over. Have a seat behind your feet. Now for Badakanasan, place your feet together. Open your knees wide to the side. And maybe if you have a blanket, sometimes that's nice to prop up your hips just a little. It gives you a little running start. So it takes your hips once they're level. It helps them to be level if they're not level, or helps them to tip forward. And that's where you want this joint action from. There's a lot of emphasis in the postures that we'll be studying in forward flexion. So that's right where your hip creases are. Keeping your spine long, press the outer edges of your feet together and catch hold of your ankles. Help yourself to draw your chest forward. And as you pitch forward, I think a good visual is like a telescoping antenna. I know that's a thing of the past, but as you pitch forward, keep trying to get longer and longer, especially in your waistline and in your neck. You could take your elbows and press them into your thighs to help you to get that opening. And then you can keep hold, of your ankles. But if it's available, to get a little more upper back strength, reach your arms up next to your ears. Now, if you had a partner, they could catch hold of your wrists and that telescoping antenna that I just described, that give you a little traction. So if you can imagine someone, that you could grab hold of and kind of helps to pull you out of your hips. Keep opening your knees wide to the side. Breathe deeply. Feel tons of strength and opening simultaneously here. And then on your inhale, release and come up. So if you have that blanket or prop, move that out of the way. Stretch your legs out in front. Do a few windshield wipers here. It's a really great action to do on a daily basis. Internal and external rotation of your thighs. I'm going to suggest you keep your shoulders still. This one tends to walk, so you may need to readjust your body. But let your knees, reach toward the floor. Don't ever feel pain in your knees. Keep this sensation in your hips. Now, typically, this is one where you could follow, with your body and have a full body motion. But I want to keep the motion today in your hips. Make your way to center. Plant your feet in line with your shoulders, let's say. Find a comfy position with your hands. I'm going to suggest fingers point out. And then as you inhale, press into your hands and your heels. Lift your hips up. As you exhale, round your spine down. Take this a few times. Spread toes, spread fingers, drive your feet and hands down in order to lift. Soft landing, and then fold. Maybe 3 more. Inhale, rise. And exhale as you softly land and dive. Now feel the strength in your hips to press high, and also the strength in your arms, last one, to lift your breastbone. Keep your neck long, and then land your hips. Now roll down onto your back. Keep your left leg long and pull your right thigh in close. And move into a half of a happy baby. So it's a big hip stretch. Now you could catch your ankle and hold the outer edge of your foot. Sometimes peace fingers around your big toe is a good idea too. But find something that feels like you get a good grasp. Pull your right knee down toward your armpit. Open your left arm wide to the side. Flex your left foot strong and keep pressing through your heel. It's almost like you're squatting. It's like half of a squat. Malasana maybe on the ceiling. Let your shoulders be relaxed as well as your throat, your neck. Maybe 3 times. Open the right leg to the side and bend. Maybe, just kind of exploring what your hammies and your inner thighs are feeling today. And now pass your right foot to your left hand and stand, in your left hand. So keep your foot quite active. It's like it's, standing on the ground. And very much like a supine pigeon, Rajakapotasan, pose, usually you're face down. If you're face up in your pigeon, you would, kind of be able to rock. You could move the thigh a little bit, but you're basically pressing your right knee away and pulling your right foot toward you. Keep the left leg active. And just feel anything that's happening here in the hips. Stay away from any straining, of course, in your knee. Flexing your foot helps to bring a sense of support and engagement to the muscles around your knee. Now, if your hip, your knee, and your foot come close to being in the same plane, in this vertical plane, then you could possibly put your heel or the outer edge of your right foot in your hip crease. And remember, your hip crease is right where your thigh bone plugs into your hip. That's actually your hip joint. A lot of people think it's up higher, kind of in their low back. But the outer edge of your right foot goes into your left hip crease or your heel, and then press your knee away. Now, if your knee moves, beyond your hip, that might be a good indication that you're ready for Lotus Pose. But this is a great preparation right here. You're feeling, the external rotation in your thigh, and then deep knee flexion, which is sometimes the limiting factor. Now let's play on the other side with the same progression. Right leg long, left leg up in the air. Grab the either ankle, outer edge of your foot, big toe, and draw your knee toward your armpit and kind of keep a 90-degree bend in your leg. Let the right leg reach really long. So you have beautiful opposition here in your hips. This is very healthy for your hips. Deep hip flexion on one side and hip extension on the other usually has kind of a stabilizing effect in your hips. Let your shoulders be relaxed, your neck relaxed. Deep, deep breaths, always. Dirga breath. Dirga breath on the mat, dirga breath off the mat. It's good stuff. Maybe stretching the left leg out a few times. Kind of lengthening, feeling what's happening there. Then pass your left foot to your right hand. Remember, keep your foot active. It's like you're standing in your hand. And it's almost like you're using your lower leg as a ratchet for your thigh. Because if I pull my lower leg toward me, then my thigh externally rotates. So it sort of screws in the hip socket. It's a healthy thing. Rock a little side to side. And this is so great to practice lying on your back to prepare for Lotus Posture, because your spine can stay long and you're less likely to kind of cheat and move the work around. Now plant, if the foot, the knee, and the hip are pretty much all in the vertical plane, and you don't feel any torque or straining in your knee, then you're probably ready to put your heel or the outer edge of your foot right in your hip crease. Now this also prepares you for a variation of tree, of Rakshasana, right? So you imagine standing up. If I was standing on my right foot, I could put my left outer edge of my foot in my hip crease and be in tree pose, right? So if the knee moves further away on the other side of the hip, then you're probably ready for Lotus Posture, which again is really great to practice here on your back. So whatever knee or whatever hip feels more open, meaning the knee moves further away, I would cross that leg first, because that leg would have to have a larger range of motion than the one on top, perhaps. So I'm gonna start with my left leg, because I know that one's a little more open. If you want to try the full lotus, put the outer edge of your left foot in your hip crease, and then bring your right leg up and find, rotation to put that foot on top of the left. My pants aren't very slippery, and it's almost like a sticky mat. Then you have, your lotus on your back. And that may not, you might like the crossing the opposite way. Maybe your other leg feels better on top. But play with both positions. You could hold on to your feet here and move your knees away, which adds a little more extension in your spine. This is such a better way to practice, with your hands under your belly. I can't think of the name, peacock posture. For me, peacock works so much better in this position. Now, if you wanted to, you could press up on into seated, press up onto your elbows, and then lift yourself all the way up. Keep your feet active, okay, in Lotus. So you don't want to feel that you're overstraining your ankles or your knees. Okay, so if you want to practice Lotus, I feel like that is a much better way. And then to release, you could roll down onto your elbows and let your back be supported so you don't strain and uncross. Right? So rock up to seated. Stretch your legs out long now and flex your feet strong. Hands are going to go behind again for inclined plane. This is a pose that came up several times to practice as a preparation for these particular poses that we'll be diving into. In your inclined plane, press strong away from the floor with your hands. Press your hips away from the floor. Reach your toes toward the floor. Keep your head in line with your spine. Let's take one more deep breath here. And then lower your hips. And let's roll over your legs to table pose. And lower all the way down onto your belly. And this is for half lotus, locust. So half locust pose, Ardha Chaturanga. Let your head rest on your hands. Press your hips firmly into the ground and lift your right leg back and up. Now let the left leg be relaxed. Take a few full breaths here. You might shake that left leg to make sure it's relaxed, as well as your neck and your face. Easy breath. And then lower the right and reposition. Relax your right leg. Press your hips down and lift your left leg. Imagine or focus your mind's eye right where the hip crease again, right where the top of your hamstring, the back of your thigh, the highest part of the back of your thigh, where it meets your bum. Imagine if there were a blanket or someone's hand right there, and you're going to press up into that resistance. Take one more breath. And then lower. Now prop up onto your elbows for Sphinx Posture, and this is a supported back bend, very foundational posture. Prepares you not only for back bending, but also for scapular stabilization. So feel, it's easy to sink in Cobra pose or in Bhujangasana or in Sphinx. So when you're propped onto your forearms, drive the ground away to feel, scapular depression. Your shoulder blades are sliding down your back, and your chest draws forward. Legs are still active, so reaching your toes way back, and with your heels pointing straight up, that helps to neutralize your hips so they're in a healthy alignment. And then separate your elbows. Bring your arms alongside your body with your palms down. And move into belly down boat. Press your hips down. Lift both legs and your arms. If you can get your big toes together, let that happen. Keep the back of your neck long. And really feel, your shoulder with your arms in this orientation. It's easy to feel that scapular depression because the more your fingers reach back, the more your shoulder blades will glide down. Take one more full breath. Easy neck, right? So you're not craning your chin. You're really accessing the strength in the posterior chain. Your hamstrings, your glutes, your spinal extensors, your postural muscles in your upper back. And then softly lower. Now bring your hands under your shoulders. And as you inhale, lift into Cobra. You can use a little strength there in your triceps. And as you exhale, reach out and down. Remember, hips pressed down. Move in and out of this a few times. Inhale to rise up. Keep your neck long and your chest open. exhale to ease yourself down. Let your back muscles lead the way, and your arms, when your back muscles can lift no further, then your arms start to assist, but you keep strong engagement in your upper back muscles. Now this next one, let's lift and hold. Head, shoulders float up, heart lifts, make your neck longer, reach your legs longer. And feel that the reaching of your legs is helping you to lengthen through your low back. As you pull your hands back towards you, your chest comes forward, also helping you to lengthen your low back. And then as you exhale, lower all the way down. Let's press up into table and hold your table pose. Separate your knees about as wide as your mat, feet together, thumbs together. Easy twist. Inhale one arm out and up, and exhale as you lower. Other side, inhale, open, and exhale, lower. Do this a few more times. Keep your body weight even in your knees, so you're standing equally out of your knees. And always, always long spine when you twist. And then lower onto your elbows. Bring your knees in. And clasp your fingers with your pinky finger extended. Elbows right under your shoulders. Now mentioned sinking a little earlier. Let this sort of sinking action happen here. That's shoulder blades are hugging together, and then press the ground away, shoulder blades move apart. So it's scapular retraction and then scapular protraction. So what we really want to focus on here is pressing the ground away. Feel the motion you have available to you, right? And then maintain scapular protraction. So you're basically separating your shoulder blades, pressing the back of your heart for now up to the ceiling or up to the sky. Now, easy neck, tuck your toes under. This is Dolphin Pose. And lift your hips up, relaxing your head. Keep driving the ground away. It's like you're trying to move your head further and further and further away from the ground. But maintain soft, jaw, smooth breath. You could walk your toes in a little closer to get your hips a little more over your shoulders. Let's take 3 more deep breaths and keep pressing the ground away. Keep pressing the ground away. I would even hug your hands pretty tightly. So wrap your fingers around your fists pretty tightly to feel the strength in your hands, in your wrists, in your forearms. Not to be aggressive and over gripping, but just to access, more muscles all around that tripod base that you have from your elbows to your pinky fingers. Let's take 1 more full breath. And then lower your knees. And lift up into kneeling. Add a counter pose here. Clasp your fingers behind and lift your chest. I actually meant to mention to grab a block. I forgot to do that in the beginning, so I'm going to grab a block real quick and take your block on so if you sit in hero's pose, let your block rest on your thighs and grab it with your forearms, and your palms can face you. So maybe I'll turn to the side for this one. Your elbows probably start about shoulder height, right? So if you're not comfortable in the seated position, by the way, find a different seated position. But this is for strength in your shoulder girdle, right? All of the muscles, your scapular stabilizers. So give the block a little hug. You're adducting the block, and your neck stays relaxed, okay? Lift your elbows while adducting, and then lower your elbows. So do that a few times to feel a strong hug all around, where your shoulder blades glide on your ribs. Now, lift your elbows to the point where you feel all that hug all around your scapula, and easy neck. And now thumbs move apart from each other and then back toward the block. So just do that 2 more times. Thumbs move apart and then forearms hug the block. Easy neck, thumbs move apart and forearms hug the block. Now, lace your fingers will probably be loose. Move the block above your head. As long as your elbows and your block clear your head, your limbs are probably strong, long enough. You have the leverage, in other words, the clearance. But if that block, or your forearms kind of don't clear your head, probably headstand is not for you. But take 2 more deep breaths here. Try to avoid arching your back. Right? Just give the block a hug right up above your forehead. Keep pointing your elbows up as high as you can. Take 1 more full breath. And then release and lower the block. Now bring your feet around in front. Just want to do 1 more core strengthening. And the hands, this is Navasana, boat posture, hands behind your thighs. Lift your chest, dig your heels in, and isometrically pull your heels back towards you. So that's going to engage the whole back side. Keep that engagement, keep the length in your spine. Float your feet off the ground, and then lift your toes to a challenging position. Maybe your shins are parallel. They could certainly stay low. Work to keep lifting your spine. If it's a good day, you could extend legs out longer. And maybe it's just for a moment, but if you can hold it there, hold legs straight and strong. Maybe let go with your hands. You can turn palms up. You can have hands facing your body toward the midline. If they go overhead, palms will face each other. And holy schmoly, there's those muscles again that you just hugged the block with. Reach and lift. Stretch the crown of your head up between your arms. Take 1 more full breath. And then slowly bend your knees and roll down onto your back. Separate your knees, your feet about as wide as your mat. Catch hold of your elbows above your chest. And try to get a good clasp there. Let your elbows go one way and your knees go the other. And then switch. And move back and forth a few times. These are double windshield wipers. So we get a nice stretch across your upper back and limbering through your hips. You can come to center, point your knees up, circle your forearms all around your head, your chest, off to one side, and then the other way. Keep a little bit of a pull with your hands on your elbows. And then take a moment to stretch your legs out, stretch your arms out. You can wiggle around. Take 3 slow breaths. And that is part 2. You don't necessarily have to do those in sequence that way. You could add this to your daily practice. But I've included, again, the poses that are recommended to practice to be prepared, to dive deeper into the 11 that we will, unpack and repack, or, look at a little closer in different ways that we can work those poses. So hopefully this is helpful not only to prepare for that, but to help you to be less sore from 2.5 days of postures. So thank you so much for joining me. And namaste.